Wouldn't that be nice to have a layout room that is designed and kind of grows into and out of the layout and surround sounds? But no, this is the reality most of us deal with. A storage room somewhere that is occupied by a lot of things. Oh, and by the way, our trains can also go in there. And so we have these issues, most of us do, of walls that are not very nice, lighting that's horrific, and then lots and lots of eyesores. So, what I did is tried to make the best I could do with the situation. In other words, I tried to make some lemonade. And so I built some shelves and I built a display wall and I built a storage system and I put in some lighting. And that was a step in the right direction. But the reality was there was more that needed to happen. I'm sure I'm not very unique in the sense that the area where my layout is used for a lot of other things. And in this section of my basement, there are a lot of mechanical devices, furnaces, heating, cooling, that kind of thing, and then plumbing. And they kind of create an eyesore. So I'm stuck with, these blue tanks and piping and whatnot. And so I've been doing some things to try and clean up the space to just make it a nicer environment, and also because I'd like to hang some additional memorabilia and posters and signs and stuff like that that have to do with American Flyer. And so the first step I did was I moved my reverse osmosis system, which is this stuff here that used to hang over in that corner there. And the next thing I'm doing, as you may have noticed, is I'm putting up curtains. And these curtains are movable and they're lightweight and they're doing a great job of kind of blocking kind of the less desirable aspects of the space. So to hang these, what I'm doing is I purchased some eyelets, threaded eyelets from the local box store. And then I got some cable. And then I got these, I'm not sure what they're called, but these locking pieces that are threaded and they clamp down on your cable. And fortunately, these curtains are not very heavy, so I can just go ahead and use a couple of them. And they look like this. You just thread the nuts down and that locks the cable in. And then to hang the curtains, I have these rings, a little bit like a shower curtain idea, but again, pretty lightweight. And so I just need to load those onto cable and finish tightening up the other end, and then I can hang the curtain. It's pretty quick, and we'll take a look at how it looks when we're done here in just a second. All right, so now I've got my cable clamps on and my eyelets hung. So now it's time to put up some curtain. So now my blue expansion tanks are covered but still accessible, and again, just kind of cleans up the room quite a bit. More than a year ago, I moved my layout from one part of the basement to another, and in doing so, everything had to be disconnected that was on top, except for some of the track. And then I moved it and reconnected everything track-wise and got trains up and running, and pretty much set accessories on the top, and kind of took some time figuring out how I wanted to arrange things and if there were any changes I want to make. That's all fine and good. But for that entire time, I've been living with this spaghetti and accessories that aren't hooked up. And so finally, I'm doing something about it, and it's been a long time coming, but let me show you what I'm doing. So first of all, I went to the Jungle website that you and I probably do more shopping on than we'd want to admit, and I picked up some of these. These are terminal blocks, and they come with this separate piece that you attach and thread in there, screw in there. And the idea being that you can apply power to one point and transfer it through all the other screws on the block. And my goal with this kind of a thing is to do two things. One is to have a point where I can provide power for my various sundry items on the layout, but also to have a way to keep things a little bit cleaner, a little bit organized, and then should I need to do troubleshooting, in theory, this will make it easier. But let's see how I put them into practice. So here's what I've done. I've found some short pieces of lumber and I've affixed these terminal blocks at different locations around the layout. And at an earlier point, I had run what I would consider a bus line around the layout, and it literally makes its way around the circumference of the layout. And I left extra wire hither and yon because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to hook things up. And it's always easier to cut wire out than add wire back in. So that's what I did. So now here is a block that I've hooked up. And again, it looks like a lot of messy spaghetti right now because I have yet to clean up my wiring. But what I used is these quick connect connections that tie right in the bus line without having to cut wire. It just, clip these in. They're like an auto parts kind of attachment. And you squeeze, you put your two wires in and you squeeze down the metal, and then there's a clip that goes over it, and that provides continuity from your bus line to your feeder line. So these are the types of, I call them tap splice connectors. I think maybe I've heard them called suitcase connectors. But what I like about these is you see how they've got that metal piece sticking out the bottom, and then it's just a plastic, basically wrap. So you wrap that around your wire, your main feeder wire, and then your new wire that you're tapping off the main. You just shove them down in there and you squeeze them together, and then you push that metal clamp up into your wire, and it's got a split in it. So it goes down and around the wire, cuts through the insulation, and now you've got a connecting point. So this has been super helpful. And then feeder line goes up here, and as you can see, ties in at the top of each block. And then I've got all my accessory wires for this particular section of the layout tied into that. And then I borrowed a book or a chapter out of Dave Clark's layout construction, and I did this. I loved what he did with this little piece of wood. Got the control buttons right there, so they're nice and clean. And then, like I said, all of this will be kind of put together and cleaned up. And then at some point, there'll be skirting that will come down here to cover up my storage area here. But just kind of a neat way to arrange things. My hope is that now when visitors come, they'll have easy access to these control buttons with accessories pretty close to them. And the idea being that not only can you see the barrel loader loading, but if you want to pull the barrels out of the car and put them right back in and keep repeating the process, you can do that. And again, I'm hoping that will engage young people, old people alike, and spur others into joining the hobby. One other thing that I should say two other things that I've been working on is hooking up accessories. And so, again, this is nothing new. I've seen several people do this. But I've just brought this section of my fascia out wide enough to put my control buttons on. And then the next step is to put a sticky backed Velcro on the fascia. And then again, with more curtains, hang those down. And again, what's nice about this is it covers up the clutter underneath the layout, but this stuff is lightweight, so you can flip it up. You can, because it's Velcro, you can take it loose if you need to get under there for any reason. But it does a nice job of kind of finishing out the side of the layout. So just a couple things that you might consider if, like me, you're trying to figure out ways to make the space you have work. So I did think about it. Someone's going to ask me, where did you get all your stuff? And the simple answer is that jungle site that we all order from. And the curtain material for the edge of the layout actually comes like this, and it has a Velcro on the back, or I don't know if it's the female or the male side, but so this is the one piece, and then the other thing I got was a roll of Velcro with sticky backing, and that's what went along the edge of the layout. So it's a pretty, simple application. And if down the road I have any issues, like, these corners are probably going to be problematic, and I could see that sticky backing coming loose with this kind of a area, but I can, pull the curtain off and do a staple or something to hold the Velcro on, and we'll be good to go. I have no doubt. So there you go. The old adage, haste makes waste. Well, sometimes it's hard when you get excited and you want to run trains to be patient. Case in point, about a year ago, I moved my layout from one part of my basement to the other and pretty much put it in place and hooked everything together and started running trains. And I noticed that there were some uneven spots, but I thought, that's all right. Well, here a year later, I've decided to take matters into my own hands. So here's my genius plan here. I've got that little laser pointer right there. It's a laser level, I should say. And what I'm doing is I have a aluminum ruler, and I found the highest spot in my basement, and then I'm going around and I'm figuring out, okay, what do I need to do to get to that magic 10-inch mark? As you can see, that's from the laser. So it's amazing how much variation there is in this basement, because, for example, I just raised this section 1 1/8 inches to get it flush or get it even. And if we come down here, which is a section I haven't done yet, you can see that's got to come up a little more than 1/2 inch. So anyhow, it's more fun than anyone should have, but it would have been so much simpler if I would have done this from the get-go, because now I've got all these boxes, wires, you name it, all this storage stuff under the layout, and you can see on my face, I'm working up a little bit of a sweat. Ugh. Anyhow, but the trains must run, and I think they'll run even better once I have the layout as even as possible. So, word to the wise, if you put a layout in your basement, it's best to true it up before you finish and start running trains. All right, there's a lesson learned from School of Hard Knocks.